Hi there and welcome to episode 2 of Demon's Lair. I'm Graham Beadle and once again I'll be joined later on today by Jack Lawrence as we'll be discussing events at the recent IPW shows as well as the first This Is Progress event and the upcoming episode 2 from This Is Progress. I'll also be discussing the FPW Future Mania, their anniversary show that took part in Croydon recently, and then also we'll be talking to Jimmy Havoc, discussing Moose and Marmot comic, FPW training and his time with the various federations in the south of England. Right, first up, IPW at the Troxy. So as I said, once again we welcome Jack Lawrence to the show. Good morning, Jack.
Morning.
Right, first up we're going to talk Troxy. IPW going for a bigger venue, something more impressive. And trying to sort of, put their name out there with a bigger audience. Mixed responses, obviously, with the NWE pulling out and leaving them in the lurch.
Yeah.
And obviously, they did struggle a little to fill the venue. But a good show, nonetheless.
It was a good show. I think it suffered from the larger venue. One of the things I love about independent wrestling, British independent, and why I love it above and beyond the big shows, is that intimacy.
Yeah.
Most of the time you can never be more than 4 rows from the action, and we lost that.
Lovely venue, though. Got to say, despite the fact that it wasn't as intimate, it was a fantastic venue. I mean, we were, lucky enough to have a balcony seat and a little booth there, which was great in a way, because it meant although I wasn't in the front row, my son could see, clearly and shout and holler as he always does. But yeah, we're supposed to be able to talk matches. First up was the 6-man ladder match. Now, pains me to say it, you called it.
I called it
last time.
I predicted it. Well, it was obvious. I mean, fantastic wrestlers.
There was some good showings. I mean, the biggest disappointment for me, and probably to you, because obviously him being a heel and you having very bad taste in wrestlers, was Noam Dar, who I've always been incredibly impressed with every time I've seen
Fantastic
him.
wrestler.
Superb wrestler. Was a bit lost in the mix on this one. But there was some great teamwork from Project Ego.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyone else, their star is so bright. Anyone else, it has to kind of take a back seat. They're fantastic.
What did you make of the faces in the group? I mean, without your usual bias, how did you think they all performed?
Adequately. It's like a giant lamp being shone on the match when Project Ego are in the ring, and anyone else are grey in comparison. They acquitted themselves adequately, but they just aren't Project Ego, and the outcome. Proved it.
Yeah, the outcome with 2 people working together, where everyone else being on their own, did the numbers game came into it. I mean, I thought that
I've said it before.
That Lion Kid I mean, you talk about him being a nut last time or what have you. But I thought he had a great showing in that.
There's no denying it.
Coming off the rope and taking Noam Dar off the ladder when he was up there, and there was some super bits and pieces from throughout. Matt Cross showing his acrobatics, but I thought again he wasn't as good as I've seen him in the past. I mean,
I wasn't impressed.
If you had to pick the 4 guys that really shined in that, I think. You'd be looking at Leon Britannico from the Lucia Britannia, Lion Kid, and the 2 guys from Project Ego, who spent a lot of time making tactical decisions. They were hanging around on the outside, letting everyone get on with it. But in the end, that proved to be the wise decision. And so it pains me to say, but great match all round.
Fantastic match.
And Project Ego stealing the show. So they've now got the money in the bank. They can take their pick of matches.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
But surprisingly, not using it for the next show at Extreme Measures, but we'll come on to that later on. Okay, second up, Haskins and Redman.
I called it again.
And you called it again. And pretty much banged it, almost predicted exactly what would happen.
He's a little whippet.
You said that Haskins would be round there, hassling, and,
in and out like a fiddler's elbow, wouldn't
he? Yeah, and Redman, I mean, didn't seem to be quite as much into it as previous events, as again you said.
Yeah.
So last showing on these shores before going down to the States, and Haskins now again will be at Extreme Measures in a very different matchup.
Absolutely.
Facing Tozawa. Now that's going to be one humdinger of a match,
Yes,
but again we'll come to that very shortly. third up on the show, the ladies' tag. You're going to stay quiet now, aren't you?
I probably will. Yeah, I was at the bar.
I'm going to have a little say about what that one is, and I'll leave Jack to sit there and remember the beers or wine or whatever it was he was drinking on the day. Right, the ladies' tag. The intro from the Blossoms, I think, got more heel heat than any heel action going when they came to the ring to the tune of S Club. That got a lot of heel pop at the time. The ladies performed, okay. The problem is that they were in a card with lots of standout matches, and there was nothing storyline because it was from another federation to get us involved with a match, and it sort of just meandered around the ring, and there was a bit of a chase sequence, but there was nothing inspiring. I've got to be honest. They didn't underperform. They did okay, but it wasn't enough to get me interested. And then when the faces won by a little bit of shenanigans and cheating, that's not my idea of fair play. So I wasn't quite sure who I should be cheering. So a little bit of an odd one for me, that one. Then we had one of the big stars, WWE import, Carlito. As I think I mentioned last time, I hadn't any idea about the guy because I'm not being a WWE watcher. However, great mic skills, entertain no end.
Yeah.
Leroy Kincaid came in with his little bevy of beauties.
Yeah. John Cena light.
Yeah, and it was a good match. Again, there wasn't a clearly defined heel until later on, with Carlito got the crowd to turn against him.
Yeah.
So it was a bit confusing to start with, but
good, solid wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Carlito from watching WWE, over the years, and good, solid wrestler, works well as a tag team partner and in single competition. Just a good match.
Yep, and Kincaid getting the win as we predicted. So at the moment you're 3 from 4, but you didn't really worry about that one, so I don't think you're too fussed about it.
What was going on with it.
Yeah, right. One of the high spots now, I think, of the 3 main matches to me were the ladder match, the 6-man tag, and the Cruiserweight Championship. Mainly because I said we had so much invested in it over the last year, but this 6-man tag was fantastic. I mean, not a good result for you.
No,
the triumvirate of evil, being brought down a peg or two,
but still had a good showing. Rockstar Spud pinning Stone within seconds.
Yeah. I mean, he comes in all guns blazing, and then it's like, but not enough up there.
But going against Rockstar Spud, who's easily one of the cleverest wrestlers on our shores.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on though. Fraser and Samuels. That's building.
Yeah. We didn't actually come to a conclusion with them, did we? They disappeared and we were counted out.
Fought backstage. Great as far as the story. I gather now that Terry won the Royal Rumble up at Swanley.
Right.
So he's now banked in, and he's got a title shot at Swanley against Shah Samuels. So that's obviously where that's all leading.
Yeah.
But then Dave. I mean, I know you don't like him, but he was left. Him, T-Bone, Rockstar, and still, finally, he was that desperate. And I think that's determination. You can't take that away from the guy.
He's been humiliated. I mean, they've managed to humiliate him over the months, haven't they?
Yeah,
they've had the upper hand.
And
for a long time.
Finally, it all came out, and T-Bone went, and once he got hold of Rockstar, well, that was a bit of a demolition job. Pain, I'm thinking probably wouldn't, there's not a word that we can come up with for the amount of damage and brutality he inflicted on him, which was great, because I was cheering away, and I know you were head in hands at times, but awesome.
He's been very bitter ever since, Spud.
Last match now. No, not last match, 2 to go. Styx and Masters. Chris Masters was another big import from them, for WWE.
Yeah.
And Styx, who has a very good reputation on the UK indie circuit.
Yeah.
What did you make of it?
Well, I was behind Styx, obviously, as our man from Britain. My problem with Masters is, and I felt this when he was in the WWE as well, it's all about the dancing pectorals. Yeah. And there was a lot of that, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, he was massively over with the crowd.
He was
massively. I mean, massively over. The fans were going wild when he won. He was mobbed.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I mean, I was supporting him, but I was a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah. He's just...
the probably the lamest finisher I've ever encountered in my life. It's a full note.
Yeah.
Master Lock.
The Master Lock.
Really. But Sticks, when he had the offense, looked good.
Sticks is great.
We've got him in a couple of weeks' time against Dean Allmark, which is a bit of a mismatch size-wise.
Absolutely take him apart.
But we'll come to that again in a second. Then we come to the real high spot. The Cruiserweight Championship began, as we discussed last time. Skrull and Callahan.
Amazing.
Amazing. Absolutely. I mean, this has been building over the last four shows, and both wrestlers were outstanding. I mean, and even to the very last second, you weren't sure. I mean, even as the final pin went on, I mean, my son was sitting next to me, was head in hands because he thought Marty had lost.
I was on my feet. I thought Sammy had it.
There he was with a stretch muffler around, and Skrull's turned it round into a pin, and it's over. And I'm not going to call anything because I mean Callahan obviously there as a heel. I didn't care.
No,
I just enjoyed the spectacle.
I mean, I took my hat off to Skrull at the end. The whole thing was just how they were able to stand at the end of it. No idea.
And then now that obviously leads to the possibility of Skrull against Rockstar. Because although he has officially got the belt, obviously Rockstar still has possession.
Yeah.
And possession being 9/10 of the law.
So they told me.
But overall, fantastic show.
Yeah, it was.
But I said the intimacy was lost.
Yeah.
And I think that, to be honest, the WWE imports didn't enhance the show.
No, for me, they didn't impact on it at all. I think we've got enough fantastic independent wrestlers in this country that would have given us as good a show, if not better. Yeah.
The only disadvantage, obviously, is the fact that those that don't follow the independent wrestling, when they see a poster with Carlito, that's going to be a draw.
Yeah, and I absolutely understand the reasons behind it.
Whereas, probably the best couple of the best wrestlers in the country, with Zack Sabre Jr. and El Ligero and people like this, if people see that on a poster, if they're not into independent wrestling, they're not going to know who they are, and that's not going to mean anything. Absolutely. Even though the fact they'll see something far better than the majority of the people they'll see imported over.
Yeah.
So, right, we'll take a brief break there, and we'll come back in a second and discuss Extreme Measures, the upcoming event on the 3rd of June in Sittingbourne. Okay, see you in a second.